Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Sorry about the small delay. I got home, excuse me. I was exhausted today at work. I don't know what's going on. I think I'm getting a sinus infection. So I took a nap, and then before I knew it, it was 4:15, and I needed to get my stuff together. Right off the gate, there is no verdict yet in the trial of the 3 correctional officers who killed Robert Brooks, in my opinion, of course. So we're going to get to some updates in that. The jury did ask for several things to be read back to them today from the judge. So it's good to know that they are taking their duty seriously and that they are sorting through all of the evidence in the case when it comes to the death of Robert Brooks. We also have some updates. Persia Nelson, if you remember, is the mom who put her baby down a water pipe. The jury got her case today as well. And there was a shooting, and I can't remember how to pronounce the name. It starts with a J. But a young kid stabbed a friend of his to death in the school bathroom. He was sentenced yesterday. So we have that. And there was another update. Oh, just a few things on the Marcy death trial. A former prosecutor did an interview with local news, giving his thoughts on closing arguments. And then there's a news clip of what happened today as well. That's what it was. The other update I have is shortly after Robert Brooks was beaten to death, there was another death across the street at Mid-State Correctional Facility, where a man by the name of Messiah Nantwi was beaten to death. And there is news in his case as of today as well. So there's a lot going on, a lot of stories that I've seen that I want to cover. And I actually just remembered the other one that I wanted to cover that I forgot to get a video for. So I'm going to just look for if y'all remember Jake Harrow, whose wife pleaded with the news that someone had kidnapped her baby. Well, he pled guilty today. He pled guilty. So we will start with his story quickly before we get started. But first, let me just say hi to everyone. I am so discombobulated today. Caudle, thanks for being here. Caudle was like, come on. I know. I'm always on time. Today I wasn't. Nanny, thanks for being here. Evil Queen, good to see you. I thought there would be a verdict by now too in the Marcy death trial. I did. But after I saw the request that they had of the judge, it makes sense because, you know, as you said, there's 3 separate cases, different charges for some as opposed to others. So they're definitely doing their due diligence, and whatever they decide, they did what they had to do. All right. And I did see there's a lot of drama apparently going on the streets of YouTube. I don't even know what's happening because I haven't really watched much. I'm still behind. There's live streams from this past weekend that I still haven't been able to watch. I'm going to have to just fast forward, I guess, to see what's happening. So we'll start with Jake Harrow. The one thing that I was a little disappointed in, though, is that when he was offered this deal, he didn't have to give up the location of Emmanuel's body. That's the only thing that kind of disturbed. Oops, and I kicked myself out again. He got this deal and nothing. He didn't really have to do anything. He didn't have to give up where Emmanuel was. He admitted that he did it. So, as of today, Jake Harrow admits to torturing his 7-month-old son, whose body has yet to be found. And this was published about an hour and a half ago by the New York Post. California man Jake Harrow sobbed as he pleaded guilty Thursday to torturing and murdering his defenseless 7-month-old son, Emmanuel, whose tiny body still has not been found. Harrow, 32, copped to a second-degree murder charge, as well as to charges of assault causing bodily harm to a child and filing a false report during a hearing in Riverside County Court in California Thursday morning. He is scheduled to be sentenced on November 3rd in the horrifying case. And there he is, sobbing. And there is baby Emmanuel. Here is... Okay, so it says Jake Harrow's wife, Rebecca, is also charged with murder, pleaded not guilty to an updated criminal complaint. And that looks like some family members, possibly. Oh, and that's it. Not much else. So what did they say? November 3rd. And just to think of all of the resources, and they, they just were going hard with someone kidnapped our baby. And here he took a deal, and it seems like Rebecca is on her own at the moment. And let me just Google her name quickly to see. All right, so nothing really about her. Let's see. Let's see if ABC 7 has anything different. Okay, so it says, meanwhile, the child's mother, Rebecca Harrow, pleaded not guilty to an amended criminal complaint. The details of that complaint were not immediately made public. Prosecutors are expected to provide more details about the new developments in the court case sometime Thursday. Well, that's today. The pleas came after Emmanuel's parents, Emmanuel Harrow. The pleas came after Emmanuel's parents appeared in court. They put his name twice for some reason. Appeared in court Thursday morning for another felony settlement conference for talks aimed at a plea agreement. Jake and Rebecca Harrow, charged with the murder of their missing 7-month-old son, had earlier pleaded not guilty in the case. A felony settlement conference typically takes place before a preliminary hearing. It is an informal discussion between the prosecution and the defense attorneys in front of the judge in which they exchange information and try to negotiate a resolution to the case. Multiple conferences are not unusual. The elder Harrows previously attended one in mid-September. All right, so Rebecca, it seems, did not take a deal. She didn't take a deal. Yeah, not surprising what he did to his daughter. And the fact that he was even able to... Give me 1 second, please. All right, sorry about that. All right, so let's get to... I'm going to add this back. So as I had said, a verdict has not been reached in the Marcy death trial, but an update. Jury has requested material in the trial of 3 former corrections officers charged with the beating death of inmate Robert Brooks at Marcy Correctional Facility. The jury asked for a compilation video with names, a slower reading of the definitions of murder and manslaughter, portions of the autopsy report related to throat and neck injuries, and a list of exhibits so that they can choose what they'd like to see. The autopsy report, however, isn't evidence. There was a PowerPoint that was used during the testimony, and I found that shocking. It seems to me that the autopsy report, along with the medical examiner's testimony, would be imperative. But apparently there was just a PowerPoint. Jury deliberations continue today. Okay, so that was the older update. So then as of 12:30, October 16th, which was today, there is another note from the jury. They want the following: Exhibit 34, and to hear testimony of the medical examiner about injuries to Brooks' neck and throat. The judge didn't say what Exhibit 34 is. And I did not have any inclination as to what that was either. Especially in closing, they didn't really refer to different exhibits. So I'm curious as to what Exhibit 34 is. 12:34, there is a lunch recess happening now. They will be back at 1:40, at which time the jury's request will be fulfilled. 2 p.m., the jury is continuing its deliberations after lunch. The judge read the elements of second-degree murder and first-degree manslaughter to the jury. The court stenographer also read back the medical examiner's testimony to the jury. At 2 p.m., there is another note from the jury. They want the definition of second-degree gang assault read to them with conditions of guilt, elements of the crime. The judge is reading the definition. The gang assault charge applies to defendants Gallagher and Kiefer. 3:15 p.m. There has been another note from the jury. They want the definition of offering a false instrument for filing read back to them. The jury also wants to see Exhibit 24. No idea what Exhibit 24 is. 3:45 p.m. Yeah, 3:45. The jury wanted to hear elements of offering a false instrument for filing again. In addition, they wanted to see Exhibits 23 and 25. The elements were read, and the jury resumed deliberations. 4 p.m. There will be no verdict today. The jury was excused for the day and will resume deliberations at 10 a.m. on Friday. All right, so let's go to... There is a clip that I wanted to show just as a... Excuse me. I apologize for keep clearing my throat. Like I said, I think I'm getting a sinus infection. Okay. So this clip was from the 12 o'clock news. I haven't been able to find one from the evening news yet.
This hour, and Oneida County jury, that is continuing their deliberations to determine the fate of 3 former corrections officers charged with the murder of inmate Robert Brooks at the Marcy Correctional Facility last December. The jury passed a note to the judge within the past hour. News Channel 2's Jolene Ferris has been in court from the start. She joins us now live from outside the courthouse in downtown Utica with the very latest. Jolene, good afternoon.
Thanks, Gary. It would appear maybe the jury is making progress, perhaps toward reaching a verdict. They sent out a note around half an hour ago asking for 4 things. They want to see a compilation video that the prosecution put together in this case of the incident, and it has graphics showing the names of everyone involved in the incident. They also would like the judge to read back the definitions of murder and manslaughter, but more slowly this time. The jury also asked for the portion of the autopsy report for Robert Brooks relating to the injuries of his neck and throat, but the judge told the jury that was never admitted into evidence. But what was admitted into evidence is a corresponding PowerPoint that was testified to at the same time. He told the jury, if that's what you meant, if that's what you want, you can go back and send me another note. The last thing the jury requested in this note was a list of all of the exhibits in this trial so they could choose which they would like to see. So again, those are the 4 things the jury asked for. Every jury is different, but one thing we have found in covering these trials for a few decades is usually when they start asking for definitions of law, it tends to be an indication that they're getting close, perhaps, to reaching a verdict, unless maybe they're hung up on the fact that they all can't agree, which would be another story entirely. So the judge right now is giving the jury.
And based on what questions the jury is asking, my opinion is that most of them are on the same page. They just need clarification to possibly make their decision final. Because there is, a difference between murder and manslaughter. And I like too that they asked for the definitions to be read more slowly by the judge, because I'm sure depending on, how fast he talks, maybe they could have missed things. So we'll see if tomorrow we have a verdict, but as of today, no verdict.
What they want, and we are in court waiting for that verdict, and we will let you know as soon if there is one. Back to you.
Jolene Ferris reporting live from downtown Utica, and when the verdict comes in, we'll bring it to you.
And during work today, I didn't have a whole lot of time today, but when I did, which I think I had like one time before the kids left for the day, I did check my phone and Googled to see if there was a verdict, and I saw that there wasn't. And that was, I think, probably like 12 o'clock. So I was like, it's getting kind of close. So I think tomorrow we will get a verdict. I think tomorrow is going to be the day. Okay, so this next clip was a former DA who gave some thoughts about the closing arguments. I have not watched this yet, so my reactions are going to be purely based on what I'm hearing. So let's see. My thoughts, the prosecutor killed it. He dropped the mic on his. The first defense attorney, I thought, was, even though he was pissing me off, his closing was short and sweet. He said what he had to say and moved along. Second defense attorney, for those of us who were here yesterday, we skipped over about 20 to 25 minutes of his closing. He talked and talked and talked. It was constant deflection, well, my client didn't do it. They did it. Well, look over there so you're not looking over here. And I think, too, the fact that the jury wanted the compilation of videos with who was who is going to allow them to see exactly what these men did and what their involvement was in Mr. Brooks' death. Prey says, I find it interesting given the video that a verdict is not in. And I think they're, just based on what they've asked, I think they want to be sure as to who was doing what, the definitions of murder and manslaughter. They also wanted a readback of the gang assault, and then also the medical examiner's report on Mr. Brooks' neck injuries, which I personally, like, if you're there and you did nothing to stop it, you're guilty of something. You may not have murdered him with your own hands, but you watched that man die. You knew exactly what was happening. And the fact that none of them had their body-worn cameras on, not one of them turned them on deliberately, that tells me everything I need to know. They didn't think they were going to get caught. But, all right, let's take a look at this.
Be joined by former Onondaga County First Chief District Attorney Rick Trumpio to break down what we saw today during closing arguments. Rick, you worked under Bill Fitzpatrick for a number of years. Yes. Before we get into closers and kind of where we are in jury deliberations, I'm very curious as a prosecutor, any attorney on either side, when it goes to the jury, what are you feeling?
So a jury trial is always a crapshoot, and that's why jury selection is so important. When they get it, you're just hoping, number one, that they got your message clear, that they...
And I find that interesting that he said one of the things you're hoping, the number one thing, is that they got your message. You made yourself clear. That second defense attorney, I was getting distracted. Like, I was, looking at my camera outside. I was saying, okay, when is this going to end in my head? I was bored with what he was saying because it was just constant deflection. And it could have been, instead of an hour and a half, it could have been 30 minutes. So to me, that tells me that the second defense attorney did not hit the mark, in my opinion. The last defense attorney to go, his closing was decent, but he was kind of throwing blame as well. And he was talking about a lot of things that were, quote, evidence, but that they didn't try to justify during the actual trial. So we'll see what this guy has to say, but I definitely agree with him, with your message getting through. Well, the second one, nope. Hey, Elaine, how are you? And is that Road Rash? Is that your picture? They are. They're all accessories to murder. I agree.
That they go back into deliberation room and they remember things that you said to direct them to the evidence, because that's the last thing they hear is your words. Yep. And
nervous time?
Both sides. Yep. You definitely get nervous. You get nervous until the jury comes out and you hear either guilty or not guilty. So I think that particularly a case like this that has national attention and there's so much at stake, I think from the defendant's perspective, what's at stake is really the rest of their lives, whether they're going to be in prison for a substantial part of the rest of their lives, and for justice for the Brooks family, and justice for what...
And what I find interesting in these three photos, this was actually what I used for my thumbnail today. These two are standing with their chins up, like very defiant. And this could just be when they got a picture of this guy. He has his head down, which I find interesting. But these two, especially this one right here, he's definitely holding his chin up very high, like very defiant, in my opinion. And so this is Kiefer. I know Kiefer because he has the reddish hair. But then Kingsley, I believe this is Kingsley. This is Gallagher. But I'm not exactly sure about these two. I do know this is Kiefer.
People saw when they look at that video.
Yeah. So let's break down. You mentioned the final words, and Bill Fitzpatrick had the final words before the judge gives instructions to the jury. So kind of great, or what did you think of his closing arguments today? You've seen a lot of them from him.
I have, and I can tell you this was a classic Bill Fitzpatrick summation. It had the right amount of passion and emotion, the right amount of outrage, and of course his trademark sarcasm. You could tell that he took this personal. And I think that he gave a very good summation. I think that he responded to the defense claims. And I think it goes back to what we talked about the first night during jury selection, and that is the defense was going to try to mitigate the intent element. And I think they all tried to do that. I think with regard to Kingsley, it's interesting. His attorney kept saying he didn't have intent. He didn't have intent. Intent's really not the issue of the murder case. It's depraved indifference, utter disregard for human life. I do think that they did what I thought they would do, is talk about what a horrible place it is to work in, that a prison, you're with violent people. It's a hellscape.
Sure.
And I just don't know if that's going to hold any weight with the jury because the video is so powerful. I do think that that the two defendants that had less culpability, just in terms of physical contact with the victim, the gang assault is probably a good fit for the jury if they're thinking along the terms that the defense pointed out, which is, my guys, they didn't even touch him.
Right.
So that's interesting. They didn't touch him, which would only be gang assault, not necessarily manslaughter and murder. Hey, Pookie, how are you? And as I was listening to this, I was also looking for something else. There is an update to the Persia Nelson case that we'll get to as well in the last 20 minutes.
They've made that point several times.
But I thought DA Fitzpatrick talked about how could you ignore what you're seeing? How could you ignore what you're hearing?
Join the human race, I think
exactly.
He said at one point.
Right, and we couldn't hear anything. We couldn't hear the sounds that Mr. Brooke was making. We couldn't hear what those correctional officers were saying. We just saw what happened, and the fact that they didn't do anything, they knowingly knew that that man was dying, or there was a chance he could die. Indifference to human life.
Right. Yeah. I'm curious. This is such a complicated case, and we have talked about it. How the jury works through this. 3 defendants. The evidence was pretty much all the same presented at one, but you've got 3 different people, basically with the same charges, but a number of charges. It seems complicated in that jury room for them.
So they have to consider each defendant's charges individually.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, I think the deliberation process is going to be a lot longer than people may think. They got the case late today. They didn't really deliver.
Minutes.
And then tomorrow they'll go in, and there's usually 1 or 2 leaders that kind of rise up in the jury deliberation room, and they'll kind of take control of how the deliberations go down. The foreperson of a jury in New York they're not elected by the rest of the jurors. It's by law, it's the first juror sworn. So that juror.
Oh, I actually didn't know that in New York. So you don't vote for the foreperson. The foreperson is automatically the first juror sworn in.
Might not be, they have great leadership skills, right?
Yeah, right.
They may not be assertive. So there will be leaders that kind of rise and they'll kind of take control of the deliberations. I think that there's a process of jury assimilation where the jurors start sharing what their perception of the evidence was, and then the other jurors will kind of correct them that, no, your recollection of that's wrong, and that's why there's readbacks. That's the other thing that might slow the deliberations down. You had a week and a half of witnesses, and I think that some jurors are going to point to testimony that other jurors may not have remembered, may not have heard, may not have been paying attention at the time. And so there'll be readbacks.
Yeah. I'm glad he said may not have been paying attention at the time, because I don't think any of the witnesses were boring, but then again, we weren't there. But based on what I've read, I feel like they were probably, interested in what the witnesses were saying. But the lawyers themselves, I think, depending on their questions and how long they took, possibly.
And what's interesting is watch for the readbacks, because that will tell you where the jury's thinking.
Sure. Last quick one. Would you guess, and this is a total crystal ball kind of thing, could we see a verdict by the end of the week, which was really only Thursday and Friday, or are we likely to see it sometime next week?
I think that they'll deliberate the day tomorrow. I think it's possible we'll see a verdict by Friday.
Okay.
I think that because the video evidence was so strong, and either the jurors are going to look at that and say, yep, or they're going to say, well, I'm not really sure that those guys did what the prosecutor's alleging.
Fits the crime, and there's your doubt.
That's it.
So that's it. All right, Rick, we'll definitely have you back when that verdict comes down for sure. We appreciate the insight as always. It's really great to get into the mind of a prosecutor and try. Nobody's really able to do it, but get inside that jury room a little bit. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much.
And as they were saying that, I was thinking myself, they wanted readbacks on certain definitions. So what I'm going to do, so it was second degree. I'm going to just go to the New York State Penal Code, and I'm going to read to us the definitions as well. So second degree murder, first degree manslaughter. Okay, so second degree murder. Okay, so second degree murder in New York State, and this is coming right from the New York State Penal Code. Murder in the second degree. So a person is guilty of murder in the second degree when, 1, with the intent to cause the death of another person, he causes the death of such person or of a third person, except that in any prosecution under this subdivision, it is affirmative defense that A, the defendant acted under the influence of extreme emotional disturbance for which there was a reasonable explanation or excuse, the reasonableness of which is to be determined from the viewpoint of a person in the defendant's situation under the circumstances as the defendant believed them to be. B, the defendant's conduct consisted of causing or aiding, without the use of duress or deception, another person to take their own life. Okay, so that does not apply here. 2, under circumstances evincing a depraved indifference to human life, he recklessly engages in conduct which creates a grave risk of death to another person, and thereby causes the death of another person. So there's that depraved indifference to human life that they kept referring to. And based on lunatic, Elaine is road rash. I could tell from her photo. So this is where I think second degree murder, it just says engages in conduct. It doesn't say that you have to touch the person, that you had to punch the person, that you had anything to do with hands-on. It says you were engaged in conduct. Well, when you stand around and do nothing and watch, I would say that's engaging in conduct. And then they get into acting either alone or with one or more other persons he commits or attempts to commit robbery, burglary, kidnapping, arson, rape, sexual abuse in the first degree, aggravated sexual abuse, escape in the first degree, or escape in the second degree. Okay, that doesn't apply either. So 3 isn't going to apply. 4, under circumstances evincing a depraved indifference to human life and being 18 years old or more, the defendant recklessly engages in conduct which creates a grave risk of serious physical injury or death to another person. Okay, that's less than 11. That doesn't apply. Okay, so it looks like the only thing that really applies, there's 2 things based on the penal law. With intent to cause the death of another person, he causes the death of such person or of a third person. And then, but I don't necessarily think they intended to cause his death. So I think that would fall more on number 2, which is under circumstances evincing a depraved indifference to human life, he recklessly engages in conduct which creates a grave risk of death to another person and thereby causes the death of another person. So I think that actually does apply. So that is second degree murder. So if we get to first degree manslaughter, let me look that up. First degree, oops. We can spell. Slaughter. Okay, so manslaughter in the first degree. A person is guilty of manslaughter in the first degree when 1, with intent to cause serious physical injury to another person, he causes the death of such person or of a third person. And that's actually it, because it has to do with children under 11 and then acting under the influence of extreme emotional disturbance, which doesn't apply. So manslaughter definitely would apply, although it doesn't say anything about conduct. So it only says with intent to cause serious physical injury to another person, he causes the death of such person or of a third person. So that could be iffy. Personally, I think second degree murder fits. And then the other thing that they wanted a readback of was the gang assault, gang assault. What degree was that? Second degree. Okay, so second degree gang assault. Okay, so gang assault in the second degree. A person is guilty of gang assault in the second degree when with intent to cause physical injury to another person and when aided by 2 or more other persons actually present, he causes serious physical injury to such person or a third person. I would say that applies to all of them. That they intended to cause physical injury to another person, and when aided by 2 or more others, actually did cause physical injury to that person. So those are the definitions of second-degree murder, first-degree manslaughter, and second-degree gang assault. All right, let me get over to chat quick. All righty. So next I have, let's see, where do I want to go next? I think we'll go to the update in the death at Midstate Correctional, which is right across the street from Marcy. And so let's go over here. And this is from News Channel 2. Oop, whoopsies. Gotta scroll up because I don't know how I got way down there. So corrections officer takes plea deal. Oh, that's why. Oh my gosh, I had it on like 120 Zoom. So corrections officer takes plea deal in inmate Messiah Nantui's death. Francis Chandler decides on plea offer. Oh, well, that's why I zoomed in. A former corrections officer charged in the death of Midstate Correctional inmate Messiah Nantwi appeared in Oneida County Court Thursday morning and accepted a plea offer. Francis Chandler was initially charged with manslaughter and other crimes related to the March incident. This morning, he pled guilty to second-degree gang assault in exchange for a 4-year prison sentence. Chandler is scheduled to be sentenced on January 16th. So, but it doesn't say what degree manslaughter. Let's see. New York State sentence for manslaughter. Let's just see what. Okay, so according to New York penal law, oh, that's not what I wanted. I thought it was more succinct than that. But it does say, because manslaughter in the first degree is a Class B felony, if you are convicted, you could be sentenced up to 25 years in state prison. And or a substantial fine. Second degree manslaughter, up to 15 years in state prison and a substantial fine, and or a substantial fine. So I guess he made a pretty good deal. He's only going to have to serve 4 years for pleading guilty to second degree gang assault. Unbelievable. So I did find this freelance that I found watching another creator who was covering Robert Brooks's case. We're just going to, oops, what the hell is happening here? Oh my gosh. It like keeps zooming all the way to the bottom. So it says, Sergeant who led prison beat-up squad that killed Messiah Nantwi pleads guilty. Francis Chandler is the first state prison guard to plead guilty to helping beat Messiah Nantwi to death at the Midstate Correctional Facility on March 1st, 2025. So Robert Brooks was beaten to death on December 9th, 2024. And just 3 months later, give or take a few days, Messiah also lost his life to a gang assault beating. Nanny says, I'm wondering about the one who put shackles on, though. That could be iffy. Yeah, Evil Queen, right? He didn't need... And that's why, like Nanny said, I wish we could have heard all of the testimony. And you best believe when this trial is over, I am going to request transcripts of this because I want to know what was said. All right, so it says, a former New York State Corrections Sergeant pleaded guilty to gang assault for killing Messiah Nantwi. Francis Chandler admitted he was, quote, acting in concert, end quote, with a group of other guards when they beat Messiah to death at the Mid-State Correctional Facility on March 1st, 2025. Nantwi's killing took place less than 3 months after a beat-up squad of guards killed Robert Brooks at the Marcy Correctional Facility on December 9th, 2024, which is directly across the road from Mid-State. The killing took place on the 15th day of a wildcat strike by prison guards that saw National Guard troops replace striking guards. Members of a prison version of a SWAT team called a Corrections Emergency Response Team, CERT for short, who did not strike, killed Nantwi. Nantwi's killing was a, quote, murder so depraved and so wanton and disregarding of human life that New York law allows it to rise to the level of intentional murder, end quote. Special Prosecutor Onondaga County District Attorney William J. Fitzpatrick said at a news conference following the defendant's April 16th arraignments. The 22-year-old was beaten with fists, batons, and boots for at least 5 minutes in 3 different locations within the prison, according to the indictment issued against the guards by an Oneida County grand jury. During the attack, guards were kicking him and stomping on his head. None of them, Fitzpatrick said, were wearing mandated body-worn cameras. This despite being required to wear those cameras by state prison policy. And after the death of Robert Brooks, once those videos were released, the Governor Hochul was all about these body-worn cameras and, reminding everyone of state law. Didn't seem to matter to those at Mid-State. Guards Jonah Levi and Caleb Blair were charged with murder. Levi and Blair were also charged with first-degree manslaughter, along with guards Thomas Eck, Craig Klemick, and Daniel Berger. Chandler and a fellow sergeant, David Ferrone, were charged with second-degree manslaughter for failing to stop the killing. See, and that's where I think that manslaughter charge that they're facing in Robert Brooks's death, it does apply. Because just because they didn't put hands on, they were there. They were there. And they did not stop it from happening. Knowing, well, and the one thing that still gets me is when the one defense attorney in his closing said that they didn't pull Mr. Brooks up by his neck. They were just trying. What did I wrote it down? I was so mad. Where did I put it? Oh, wait, it's going to be on this page, I think. Yes, they were, quote, steadying his neck. No, sir, they were not. Okay, so all 7 faced gang assault charges as well. An additional 3 were charged with contributing to an attempted cover-up. Donald Slauson, Michael Iffer, and Nicholas Vitale. Nantwi, 22, was facing 2 murder charges and serving time for illegally possessing a handgun he allegedly used to shoot at 3 cops in the Bronx in 2021. The cops returned fire, hitting Nantwi several times but not killing him. The 3 officers returned 31 shots, striking Nantwi multiple times. The cops were not injured. Notme eventually pled guilty to criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree. While he was out on bail before he was sentenced, he allegedly murdered 2 people in 2023. Notme was waiting to be tried for those crimes while he served a 5-year sentence for the gun case. Notme was beaten by the CERT team when he, quote, grabbed the vest of a guard, according to the indictment against Chandler and the other guards. The indictment also alleges Notme bit Blair and Eck during the fight. After that, guards beat Notme until he was, quote, no longer responsive, according to the indictment. This sounds so much the same as what they initially tried to claim that Mr. Brooks did. They tried to bite or, whatever. It's bullshit. The squad of guards also beat Notme while they dragged him handcuffed down a flight of stairs. They beat him a 3rd time when he was, quote, dumped in a holding cell at the prison's infirmary. That's where Blair, one of the 2 guards charged with murder, beat Notme more, the indictment alleges. Chandler was there and could have stopped the deadly assault, but did not. These 2 sergeants in a supervisory role in Mr. Notme's room did absolutely nothing to stop the beating he was enduring and offered absolutely no assistance to him, Fitzpatrick said at the April news conference. After the beating, Ferrone allowed the names of both Chandler and Levi to be left out of official use of force reports members of the group were required to follow. They did so, quote, to mislead those investigating the use of force, the indictment alleges. Ferrone also devised a plan to plant a shank in Notme's cell. Eck volunteered to, quote, find it. After killing Notme, the guards concocted a scheme to posthumously, plant a weapon in Mr. Notme's room to cover up the murder. A body-worn camera caught 2 of the conspirators discussing the scheme to plant a shank. At the direction of Chandler, the group assembled at Raspberries, a local diner, for breakfast in order to develop and coordinate the false narrative that nothing improper was done to Messiah Notme. Fitzpatrick called the botched cover-up amateur and ineffective at the news conference. So far, 6 of the guards have agreed to cooperate with prosecutors and testify against any of the other defendants who decide to go to trial. Chandler pleaded guilty in a courtroom across from the courtroom where 3 of the guards who killed Brooks are on trial for murder, manslaughter, and gang assault charges. Almost a dozen supporters of Chandler filled benches in the courtroom behind him. Among them was a young woman with fingernails painted blue. She wept while Chandler answered yes to a series of questions Oneida County Court Judge Michael Nolan asked him to confirm his plea of guilty. An older woman stroked her shoulders and hair to comfort her as she cried. Judge Nolan scheduled Chandler's sentencing for January 16th, 2026 at 9:30 a.m. Disgusting. And to me, it appears that they're doing this. They've probably done this for years. And there's still active litigation against some of the officers involved in Robert Brooks's death. That reminds me, I need to look up to see if anything's happening with that. Okay. All right, so that is everything I have in relation to Robert Brooks' trial, which we know there is no verdict, and Messiah Notme, who unfortunately also lost his life. Okay. That's called creative writing and cop talk, yeah. Yep, and they all probably filled out same reports like Brooks's case. Yep, there it is. Hey, Steph, how are ya? Driving and listening. Well, drive safe, please. There was, just as a side note, on the way to work today, right outside the driveway to the parking lot where I work, there was a terrible accident. Terrible. Thankfully, no one was seriously injured. But the sun in the morning, for those of you who, drive toward the east, the sun can be blinding. And this morning there's a few places on my way to work where I have to use the guidelines in order to see what the heck I'm doing. Cause even with your visor down, you can't see shit. So, anyways, there was, and I saw the video, the school video, the school surveillance cameras caught the accident, and I was able to see it. And a woman was waiting to turn into our parking lot. Another car was behind her. And then another car came behind her. Well, then a fourth car came flying up behind. And the woman who was turning into the school parking lot saw the person coming and not going to stop. So she took off. Like, she hit the gas and said not to turn. Unfortunately, the other car didn't move fast enough and got rear-ended. And then the car behind the one that didn't stop also got rear-ended. So the car that was in the middle got really, it was pretty bad. And it had to have happened. Emergency vehicles hadn't even gotten there yet. So it had to have happened, just minutes before I pulled up. And yeah. But I've always said, they go flying down this road and somebody's gonna get hit. And sure enough, somebody did. So let's see. Do you know if they will call off deliberations for today? They did, Nanny. They did. So I already closed the article, but I think it was at 4. Oh, wait, here it is. Let me just click on this again. Yes, 4 p.m. The jury was excused for the day. Deliberations resume tomorrow at 10 a.m. So with that, I don't know. I feel, usually, you hear people say, oh, juries are going to want to be done by the weekend so they don't have to worry about it. But I just feel like this jury is going to just take their time and not necessarily care that it's the weekend. I mean, they're pretty serious charges that you have to talk about. So I think we're going to see it tomorrow. Yeah. Did you hear about the 4 found in the cornfield? No, I did not. But I did see, I don't think I'm going to talk about this case. I did see that Chasing had a video on it, though. It is the most disgusting. I think probably the most disgusting I've seen. And we've talked about a lot of things, but it was was it a 10-year-old? Oh, here it is right here. A 9 and 10-year-old. 9 and 10-year-old. Sexually assaulted and beat a 5-year-old, killing her. 9 and 10. I can't, what? You know what? Maybe I'll just briefly talk about that. Let me look it up. Here we go. I'll go to the New York Times. Oh, nope, we don't want that yet. Okay, so actually, let me put my other banner up for now Viewer discretion is advised. And I just lost screen share audio. So actually, let me stop sharing quickly. StreamYard, can we just act right at least once? All right. Oh, wait a minute, Caudle. I think I may have seen the body cam footage of that. Was there was two in the, or there was three in the back, one in the front, but the driver wasn't there? There was two females, I know, in the back seat, and then a male in the back seat. And I believe, actually, I think it was a female in the passenger seat she had been shot. Is that the same one, or am I thinking of something completely different? I watched that earlier this week, that body cam footage. And actually, we'll talk about this and then we'll look up that, because I have like a few more things to show, but I didn't have really anything planned. So this is in Cleveland. Cleveland is where this case is. Boy and girl face rape and attempted murder charges. Okay, I lied. She didn't die. I thought she died. Just hearing what I heard on the one thing, I honestly thought that she had been killed. So I must have missed the attempted murder. I just saw murder. So boy and girl face rape and attempted murder charges and attack on 5-year-old. Prosecutors in Cuyahoga County, Ohio, filed the charges in juvenile court. The victim's mother wrote on social media that her daughter was found, quote, unresponsive and unrecognizable, end quote. Okay, I do. So this was, I believe, the details are very graphic, because I believe I did read some of what they did. So viewer discretion advised. Oh, that's what you saw, Caudle? Okay, I'll look that up. A 9-year-old boy and a 10-year-old girl in Ohio are facing charges of rape and attempted murder after an attack on a 5-year-old in a Cleveland field, the authorities said Wednesday. And because this is in juvenile court, by the time they're 18, they're going to be out. And if a 9 and 10-year-old can do what they did, they need to be locked up for life. If they are that evil and sadistic, that young, in my opinion, they are a danger to society, regardless of how old they are. The girl and boy were charged with attempted murder, 4 counts of rape, 2 counts of felonious assault, strangulation, and kidnapping in the attack last month. In a post on Facebook this month, the victim's mother gave an agonizing account of the horrific injuries to her daughter. Okay, so this is where I would, if you don't want to listen to the injuries, I would just lower your volume, put me on mute for about 20 seconds, and then come back. She said that on September 13th, her daughter was found, quote, unresponsive, bloody with her hair pulled from her scalp, and covered in bruises, among other injuries sustained in the attack. My daughter did not look like herself. The New York Times is not naming the mother or her daughter because the newspaper typically does not identify victims of sex crimes. The 5-year-old girl had been left with a family member while her mother underwent a medical procedure when she left the home and couldn't be found, the mother said. When the mother arrived at the home, her daughter was being treated by emergency responders. It is unclear what the girl's current condition is. On October 7th, the Cleveland Division of Police posted a statement on its Facebook page saying that the department was aware of a social media post about a current case. It added that the police were actively investigating and unable to share information. The department said in a statement on Wednesday that it began investigating a case involving multiple children under the age of 10, both as victims and as suspects of the investigation on September 13th. The police department declined to comment further, citing the possibility of jeopardizing the case as well as violating the constitutional rights and privacy of the people involved. The prosecutor's office in Cuyahoga County, Ohio, announced the charges on Wednesday, saying it was still receiving information and obtaining evidence. Lexi Bauer, a spokeswoman for the office, said that the charges were filed in juvenile court on Wednesday, and the 2 children who have been accused would be arraigned at a later date. In Ohio, a juvenile suspect must be 14 or older for the case to be eligible to be transferred to adult court. And actually, I do have a video where I think the mom is talking. Give me 1 second. I actually had it as part of this live, and then I said, well, take it out. I don't know. So we might as well watch it. Oh my gosh. I just saw another verdict come in, another case local to me that I haven't covered, but I'm glad to see that verdict too. All right, so let's see. Watch later. No, pause. Stop it. Where is it? Here it is, right here. Oh my gosh, YouTube, what is happening? Can we pause? Maybe it's my mouse. Maybe it needs new batteries. All right, here we go.
Attempted murder and rape charges, and unfortunately, sadly, you have heard that right.
These kids are accused of violently attacking a little 5-year-old girl. First at 4, Aria Janelle has the beyond disturbing details.
Either way you look at this story, it's just devastating. All 3 people involved in this situation under the age of 11.
I literally saw the worst thing ever.
And Tavia Kinney-Brew, a mother, heartbroken and pleading for justice. Police say her 5-year-old daughter was beaten, scalped, and sexually assaulted. The people that did it, they believe, are a 9-year-old boy and a 10-year-old girl.
I saw my daughter unrecognizable.
Kinney-Brew says she dropped her daughter off with a family member on September 13th. Somehow, the 5-year-old got outside. The next thing the mother knows, her little girl is being treated by paramedics. Police say the brutal attack happened in a field near East 148th Street and St. Clair Avenue.
Her hair was scalped from her head. She had bruises and blood all over her body. Her eyes was filled with blood. Her lips and mouth was filled with blood. Her nails had dirt, debris of dirt stuck in it.
19 News spoke to Kinney-Brew last week. Nearly a month after the attack, she's still wondering how and why this could have happened. The Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office charging the children with some adult-like crimes: attempted murder, rape, kidnapping, and strangulation. Kinney-Brew telling us her daughter is left emotionally and physically hurt.
I want her to just to be somewhat of a normal 5-year-old again.
The prosecutor's office says they are still going through evidence and getting new information. Our team reached out to Kinney-Brew's lawyer for comment on these charges, but have not heard back. For 19 News, I'm Aria Janelle.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Sick. All right, so we're gonna go changing gears. Oh, and actually, before we get to this story, let me look up that one case that Caudle had mentioned. So it looks like, yep, I just saw your thing about 103 years in prison. So it seems like they just may have released the body cam, or someone just, I can't remember where I saw the body cam. I don't think it was a news source. I think it was, a creator. But it was from back in, it happened in September 2021, 4 people were found shot to death in a crashed SUV in a Wisconsin cornfield. Victims were Jasmine Sturm, Matthew Pettis, Lois Foreman III, and Natasha Flug Presley. Antoine Suggs was convicted of the murders and sentenced to 103 years in prison. And that was back in May of 2023. Suggs testified he shot the victims in self-defense, believing they were going to rob him, but prosecutors stated the motive was unclear. Well, the jury also didn't buy it. Okay, so this next story is this young boy here, Mr. Prince, stabbed one of his classmates in a school bathroom, and he was sentenced, I believe it was, well, I saw the story yesterday, so sometime this week. And honestly, I was shocked at his sentence. I was shocked.
He is 17, and he will spend the majority of the rest of his life in prison.
So a 17-year-old was found guilty.
Jalen Prince was sentenced this afternoon after he was convicted of killing one of his classmates inside a high school bathroom last year. Hello, everybody. I'm Denise Koch, and welcome to WJZ's All Local News at 6. The victim, 15-year-old Warren Grant, was shot in a boys' bathroom at Joppatown High School last September
that's what it was.
following an argument with Prince. Prince, sentenced to 80 years in prison, but can be eligible for parole after 40 years because he is a minor.
I can't imagine. You're 17 years old. You're sentenced to 80 years in prison, which is life in prison. I mean, unless he lives until he's 97. But he's eligible for parole in 40. So he'll be 57 years old. Will he? I mean, for one really terrible decision. Whole life taken from him. But then again, he took the life of this kid. So what's fair is fair.
Harford County community reporter Ashley Paul has been following this case from the very beginning. Ashley, you were there. It was an emotional day in court.
Yeah, it certainly was. 17-year-old Jalen Prince, though, showed very little emotion as he learned that he won't be eligible for freedom until he's at least in his late 50s. And that's a sentence that the prosecution says they're satisfied with. Victim impact statements describe 15-year-old Warren Grant as a loyal, kind, and selfless young man with big dreams and a bigger heart, adding the only way for justice to be served is to lock Jalen Prince up for a very long time.
We're happy with the result. It's a substantial sentence that will ensure that he spends the majority of his life incarcerated.
State's Attorney Allison Healy reacting to the judge's decision that now 17-year-old Prince will spend up to 80 years in prison with the possibility of parole after serving half the sentence.
And we cannot tolerate gun violence in schools, and we will not tolerate that here.
It was on September 6th, 2024, when investigators say Prince brought a loaded gun to Joppatown High School.
Okay, so I think I said earlier that he stabbed him. Clearly, I was wrong. For some reason, I think I said stabbed. Maybe I didn't say it at all, but for some reason in my head, I think I said that, and I apologize for being wrong.
School and followed Grant into the bathroom following an argument over a girl, threatening to shoot him at least 4 times before finally pulling the trigger. Healy explained Prince's extensive history of violence, including after the shooting, where he's been involved with at least 15 incidents of assault and threats while attending the Hickey School for Juvenile Offenders, which is why she doesn't believe he can be rehabilitated.
He is continuing his pattern of violence, that he's a threat to public safety.
She read statements from character witnesses who say Prince has potential, and Prince himself echoed that will to be a better version of himself in a letter that he wrote to his future self, which he read to the court. But the judge said that because of Prince, Grant will never have a chance to graduate high school or have a future, which is how he landed on his decision.
the most important thing is the evidence in this case, and the jury, made their decision. They said this wasn't an accident and that he committed first-degree murder, and that's exactly what the judge based his ruling on.
Now, the judge recommends that Prince be sent to Toulson Correctional Boot Camp, but that decision will ultimately be up to the Department of Corrections. For now, reporting live on your corner in Harford County, I'm Ashley Paul, WJZ.
Ashley, thank you.
All right. So just a quick update on that. I had followed that story when it happened, and I just happened to see that update. Oops, I didn't mean to stop sharing that. I just saw that update yesterday, so I thought I would just let us all know. This next case is one that occurred local to me. This is Persia Nelson. She is accused of putting her baby into a water drainage pipe type thing. Baby died of hypothermia, and she claims that she would never hurt her baby, that she lost her baby. Turns out she was highly intoxicated. When investigators asked her where her phone was, she knew where it was. But when they said, "Where's your baby?" I don't know. So a verdict actually did come in this case right after I started this live. So we're going to watch a couple of clips from yesterday, and then we will watch the verdict clip. Is that the one you covered the other day? Meaning the young kid, or this one? Because this one I covered the other day. I had talked about it. Yep, because her trial started, I think it started the end of last week. I don't know. The days are kind of all meshing together.
Breaking now at 4, the jury will soon begin deliberating the fate of the mother accused of leaving her infant on a cold, wet floor for hours.
Tragically, the 11-month-old girl named Halo did not survive. Now the jury will decide if the child's mother is responsible for her death. This tragic case started in March of 2024 with an Amber Alert for the possible abduction of baby Halo. About 24 hours later, the infant was found at the bottom of an 8-foot drainage pipe on the General Electric campus in Schenectady. She was half submerged in water and died from exposure and hypothermia.
You're seeing video from the trial here. Police say the child's mother, Persia Nelson, here was found nearby in a heated room, disoriented, claiming she did not know where her baby was. The 25-year-old mother is charged with second-degree murder and manslaughter.
Attorneys presented closing statements today on both sides of this case. Dan Levy was in court to hear all of it. He joins us live right now outside the Schenectady County Courthouse. Good afternoon to you, Dan.
Good afternoon, Sabrina. What we witnessed.
Okay, yep, this is the one. Yeah, I've covered this. When it first happened, we got the Amber Alerts, and I mean, personally, I, drunk or not, and when you hear, like, this is another court case that it was not televised, so you don't really know what the actual evidence is, but I think it's in, not this clip, the next clip I have, I think this one too, they have just audio of what the DA said and the defense said, and her defense was not great. She actually pled not guilty by reason of insanity, I believe, or not insanity, whatever the other one is.
Today inside Schenectady County Court were two extremely powerful and diametrically opposing viewpoints, oratories from two impassioned and energized attorneys, each of whom was trying to plant the seeds of either conviction or doubt in the minds of 12 jurors, 7 men and 5 women, who will ultimately determine the fate of Persia Nelson. These summations lasted about 4 hours today on the second floor.
Wow.
Defense attorney Mark Sacco went first, suggesting to the jury that his client did everything she could to save her baby, saying that it is reasonable and it is plausible that
she did everything she could to save her baby. No, she didn't. As soon as she realized her baby was missing, she should have called for help. She should have never trespassed on private property for whatever reason. Honestly, I think she was lost. She didn't know where she was because she was so drunk.
his client couldn't remember where she left the baby, insisting Persia Nelson didn't have a good memory because she was caught up in a traumatic situation, that she was cold and tired and drunk. Prosecutor Christina Tremonti, on the other hand, argued that being drunk is never an excuse for killing your baby, asserting that there is no evidence whatsoever that Persia Nelson tried to save her baby, calling it total abandonment and depraved indifference, adding that if she loved her baby that much, she would have died with her baby in that hole. And both attorneys...
Wow, that is quite powerful. If she loved her baby that much, she would have died with her in that hole.
Had much, much more to say.
Now, if you are some callous, nasty person trying to kill a baby and hide a baby, right? Are you going to tell the first people that wake you up after all this, are you going to say, where's the baby? Why would you do that? You'd have to be nuts.
Because you don't want people to know that you killed your baby. Right? Like, I mean, honestly, maybe I wish we had the testimony for this too. Maybe she didn't, I don't know. I think she put her baby down there on purpose, but
she knew she may be in trouble. And she's trying to get out of it. She brings it up first. If my child is gone, am I in trouble? She tells them she's a great mother and a good person because she kind of sees where things could head. She knew she was a suspect before they did.
And so after nearly 3 weeks of trial testimony that included more than 40 witnesses, after about 4 hours of summations, the judge will take roughly 45 minutes to charge the jury, and then in all likelihood, the deliberations will begin here tomorrow morning. Live in Schenectady with coverage you can trust. Dan Levy, News Channel 13. Mark, Sabrina, back to you.
Dan Levy with the update from Schenectady County Court. Thank you very much.
And I do have one more clip before we get to the verdict. This is a different news station. They had just a little bit of different information as to what was said in court. I really thought there'd be more people in the gallery for this. But I guess, being, a court during the week, people work, but.
We now go to continuing coverage of the murder trial of Persia Nelson in Schenectady County Court. She's accused of killing her 11-month-old daughter, Halo, last year. Today, jurors heard closing arguments from both sides in the case. CBS 6's Emma Quinn was in Schenectady and joins us now live with more on what happened today. Emma.
Good evening, Greg. Persia Nelson was seen crying and shaking her head in the courtroom this afternoon as the prosecution described her as a careless parent who was about to lose custody of her child.
Persia Nelson's life is all about her. It wasn't about killing Halo as much as it was relieving Persia of her responsibility, relieving Persia of the burden of a life she was sick of.
Wow.
And a life she looked at as unfair.
The prosecution says Persia Nelson purposely put the child in the drainage pipe because she was falling on hard times.
She has to stay with this guy who's cheated on her. She's got no job. She's in the middle of a custody dispute.
The defense argued she was drunk and lost after turning onto the wrong street when walking home.
We know that there's no evidence that she ever walked around those streets. And she's from Hudson, New York.
Both sides showed security camera footage.
Yeah, she's from Hudson, but if I remember correctly, she had lived in that area for at least a month. So that doesn't fly, bud.
From that 15-hour night, the defense, a video of Persia singing in an interrogation room depicting a woman mourning her dead child.
I see forever in your eyes. I feel okay when I see you smile.
The prosecution, a video of Persia at Ellis Hospital.
I don't get drunk when my kids are awake, you know what I mean? Unless my kids fully asleep for the rest of the night, that's when I'm really get drunk.
Nelson's memory was a talking point of the case.
I mean, she knew where her phone was. She told them, it's on the charger, back at home.
If she could remember where she was at that moment, they'd be alive. And I don't think she has a very good memory because it's a very traumatic situation.
Hey, Steph.
Now, the prosecution ended closing arguments today by saying this case is about choices Persia Nelson made. Now, the jury will choose her fate tomorrow when deliberations begin. Reporting live in Schenectady, Emma Quinn.
Oh, and there's the other one, the other guilty verdict I was talking about. Dirt bike rider. This guy. And this poor girl, the UAlbany student, this poor girl, I mean, thankfully she didn't pass away, but man, because they do the dirt bike racing on city streets. Not a very good idea. But he hit this girl so badly. I'm glad he was found guilty. Piece of crap. All right, so we are going to go to YouTube next because the verdict, so the jury got the case. They started deliberating today, and by 4:30 today, or 5 o'clock today, they had a verdict of guilty, which I think the jury got
multiple cases for you tonight in Albany. After a 16-day-long trial, the mother accused of killing her 10-month-old daughter has been found guilty of murder, manslaughter, and also endangering the welfare of a child.
Prosecutors say Persia Nelson dropped the infant down a utility pipe last year. News 10's Peyton Kavanaugh is live from the court with the latest on the ruling. Peyton, what can you tell us?
That's right. We are outside the courthouse where just a couple hours ago, the jury ruled Persia Nelson guilty on all 3 counts. Now, Nelson was convicted today of second-degree murder, second-degree manslaughter, and endangering the welfare of a child, following a unanimous jury decision. As you can see in these courtroom videos, this was the scene today. Jurors requested to review 3 key pieces of video evidence, each showing Nelson crying and praying. In one emotional clip, Nelson says, "I love my baby. Why would I do that? I don't know why I left." Her words were muffled by sobs, but it appeared she said, "I don't know why I left her." We spoke with prosecutors moments after the verdict, and they confirmed the jury indicated those.
I don't know why I left her. But she claimed initially that she didn't know where her baby was. Interesting.
Those videos played a crucial role in their decision, reaching a verdict less than 20 minutes after viewing that footage. After a 16-day trial, this tragic case has now reached a verdict, but it moves into the post-trial phase. Prosecutors say today was a step towards justice for baby Halo.
Well, justice is done, but it doesn't change what happened. The baby suffered an awful death. Those officers are scarred by what they saw. The whole community really was invested in this case and was hoping for a better outcome for baby Halo, and doesn't change that. But her killer will be held accountable.
Now stick with us for more on what occurred in court today at 5 and 6 p.m. Reporting live in Schenectady, Peyton Kavanaugh, News 10 ABC.
Yeah, good. No, pause. No. Oh my gosh, pause. Okay, so let's see. Oh, I only have one story left. All right. So this last story isn't crime based, although this is a crime. It is a crime that a 101-year-old woman still goes to work 6 days a week. Maybe that's her choice. However, I don't believe that she should she should need to work, if that's the case. I have not watched this yet. But when I saw this title, the first thing I thought was, that's awful that this 101-year-old woman is working 6 days a week. Six days a week. All right, so let's take a look.
Every week you can find Ann Angeletti on the move, buzzing around the Diamond District.
Everything good?
Okay. She's still bargaining.
Make it a better price, Benjamin.
I love you. You always ask for a better price.
And she's always looking out for her customers.
Make it straight.
Ann is no stranger to hard work. As a child, she left school to help out at her family grocery store in Brooklyn. Her dad sold ice door to door in a horse-drawn cart.
Oh my gosh, how cool is that? I mean, it's probably not cool to go door to door in a horse-drawn cart full of ice, but how cool, like going door to door to sell ice.
This was before refrigeration was even
He
invented.
does look great, Steph.
I'm 100.
She's so
101
cute.
to be exact, but who's counting? This is a lady who was 80 20 years ago and continues to run her own business.
Oh, it's her business. Okay.
With her daughter and granddaughter.
If I retire, I would die. So I cannot stay home.
Huh.
United States troops are on the move.
She hasn't stayed home since her husband went off to fight in World War II and rolled up her sleeves and went to work at the Navy Yard, then as a waitress. But she always had a passion for fashion.
How many days a week do you come to work?
6. My store is open 5 days. And Monday, I go into the city.
So we asked the secret to her success. Rule number 1, self-care.
Wow.
Let's get up. You must shower. You must eat. You must take care of yourself.
So, note to selves, you must get up, you must shower, you must eat, and you must take care of yourself. The shower thing got me.
And don't forget to find your happiness.
If you don't like what you're doing, then change.
The centenarian says always focus on building relationships first.
See, I don't care if my customers don't buy. They come in, we have coffee.
And clearly her business associates enjoy her too.
You are the biggest inspiration for me myself.
That love for what she does keeps her going, one foot in front of the other.
Make the most of that day.
She's one tough cookie.
I'm happy working every day.
In Cresskill, Nina Pineda, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
And you know, I think when she said, if I stay, I got rid of myself, not the screen. I feel like that may be true. If she just sat home, she, you know, and the fact that she still has coffee with people who come into her store. I mean, just that socialization, and, you know, it seems like her daughter and granddaughter are there as well, just to keep an eye on her. But what a cute lady. What a cute lady. Yeah, she was gorgeous. Yeah. And feisty. I agree. Yeah. She definitely seemed like a spitfire. And speaking of spitfire, it drives you nuts to be home. You know, and my grandpa, he still goes to the grocery store. My mom will bring him to the grocery store at least once a week, sometimes more. And he just walks, he has his walker, he just walks around the grocery store, he does like a lap, he gets, you know, he has his certain things that he needs, and, you know, just to get out. And, you know, he's a spitfire too. He does what he wants. That is for sure. That is for sure. All right, y'all. Well, that is all I have. So no verdict today in the Marcy death case. I truly believe we're going to have a verdict tomorrow. So I will plan to go live Probably 4:30 Eastern. I usually go to my parents on Fridays, but I actually went to their house yesterday. So I will be home normal time from work. So I will schedule for 4:30 Eastern tomorrow. And if there isn't a verdict, there are plenty of stories that we can take a look at. There is something that I saw that I would like to cover. I don't know how many of you follow Hidden True Crime. I saw she had a live, and I still need to watch it, but it was about her having a stalker, an online stalker. And I'm going to reach out to her first just to see if she'd be okay with me using her content, because she is a very big channel. I don't think she would mind, but I always like to reach out and maybe go through that on my second channel, because I think in, the era that we are in currently, in some communities, it's a legit thing. It is a legitimate thing. And I honestly was shocked that this was happening to her. I was shocked. She's so nice. I really like watching her, and her husband is very knowledgeable and insightful. And I just think their dynamic is so cool. So that's something that I really would like to review so that I can, watch it with all of you, because I have not started watching it yet. So that'll be in the works, probably Saturday. Oh gosh. Well, good luck to her. Good luck to her. The irony. Yeah. The irony. I mean, okay. That's all the thoughts I have on that. But that is quite ironic that you're going to review someone who has an online stalker when you seemingly are obsessed with other people. But I digress. So I hope everyone has a great rest of your night, day, morning, wherever you may be. If you are watching on the replay, #replay. If you haven't hit that like button, please do so on your way out. And until next time, y'all, I will see you on the flip side.
You have one shot on stage, what you got to play? Generic drops for days, still the people rage. Am I not insane? Can you stop and explain why these drops are so lame? Is money buying you fame? I'm fucking on, I'm killing it with this song. You haters can sing along or go back where you belong. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with giving up, moving on. Cause I took your girl to prom, she can't help but sing this song. Comes off till the lights go out, till my legs give out. Can't shut my mouth till the smoke clears out. And my high harass, I'ma rip this shit till my bones collapse. Till the roof comes off, till the lights go out, till my legs give out. Can't shut my mouth till the smoke clears out. And my high harass, I'ma rip this shit till my bones collapse. So on like a light switch, flirting back. There's nothing wrong with the way that she's working that. I just want that body bad, come on baby, bring it back. I'm so gone, faded off a 30 rack. She's so on like a light switch, flirting back. There's nothing wrong with the way that she's working that. I just want that body bad, come on baby, bring it back. I rap with a passion, yeah, I got it in me. I've been waiting quite a long time for y'all to hear me. It's about damn time you put some stock into me. You're either sponsoring me or fucking bothering me. And the fact is, we just practice on this madness. That is why your status is like a canvas. Chances are advanced. till my legs give out. Can't shut my mouth till the smoke clears out. And my high progress, I'ma rip this shit till my bones collapse. Till the roof comes off, till the lights go out, till my legs give out. Can't shut my mouth till the smoke clears out. And my high progress, I'ma rip this shit till my